Wait, so yeah, how drunk were you last night? Because like I was getting messages from you. You were like tweeting John Moxley videos to us, like sending us John Moxley videos at 2:00.
I mean, I wasn't like hammered. I mean, I was drunk, but I wasn't hammered. I was just up because I was expecting my wife to come home, and she never did. She's hanging out at the Tolbert, just enjoying people time.
Drinking 8 bottles of wine.
Welcome to $2 Steak, a pro wrestling podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Varnum. Joining me today in person. Holy shit! We are back at $2 Studios. We have got Big Mike. Woo! I'm taking off. He's usually like a little bit less than that.
I'm excited to be back at the studio.
Tolbert.
Hey, back in the high spot.
And Cookie. Wait, are you high right now?
Yes.
All right. And Cookie.
Me too, man.
It was a curve, the hangover from sitting with Big Mike last night.
And Cookie, you're here as well.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, buddy.
You're not in Charlotte. You're not in anywhere else. You are here.
$2 Studios, baby.
But $2 Studios, things have changed. I've done some renovating here at $2 Studios. You guys are able to see the WCW sign.
It's blinding me.
Dude, it hurts my eyes. Like, literally, like, I've gotten a migraine from looking at it.
Tan.
This is midday on Sunday, and it's literally blinding me. I can barely look at you.
Do I need to unplug WCW right now during
No, you just have to turn yourself like a rotisserie spit.
I know. Like, honestly.
The wrestling shrine is looking great, though.
I love it.
So also, and this week, my friend Michael Jordan got me this really cool Jushin Thunder Liger figure to also put on the thing. So, you know, like, this is like my nerd corner. Yeah.
You know, Aaron, wait, hold on. I see a lot of things that being turned into a bong.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of things.
And we will talk about this during our social media update, but we are, if you guys have any suggestions of weird things, wrestling-related things, $2 steak-related things, anything that you can think of that would be hilarious to turn into a bong, we are going to have to turn it into a bong because we have had a challenge for our boy Tolbert over here. He is going to try to make everything a bong and take the title of Mr. Bong from a guy on Twitter that we have been following this week, and he has become quickly one of our heroes on the social media universe. Tolbert, are you ready to become Mr. Bong?
It's a daunting challenge that's been laid before me.
Now, in professional wrestling, they always had Mr. Wrestling 1, Mr. Wrestling 2. Perhaps even, like, if you guys, like, were to tie in this competition, maybe it would be Mr. Bong 1, Mr. Bong 2, and you guys could...
I have looked at the Twitter, and, I have respect for my opponent. He's a very talented individual. So I will not take this lightly. I'm going to train hard. And I'm just gonna do my best.
This is how much respect Tolbert has for his opponent. I had to follow him on Instagram.
Yeah, I was looking at his stuff and I'm like, good lord,
Mike. I was training.
You're like Mr. Miyagi in this shit.
Yeah.
He was smoking a laptop, a speak and say, like one of those things. There was there was like a massive anime statue that he was able to convert in one. And our favorite, it doesn't have to do with anything with wrestling, but it does have to do with the culture of North Carolina and the people that live here. He was smoking a Dale Earnhardt action figure.
Salute. I did see this morning. He's a food connoisseur, such as myself. He was toasting an Uncrustable.
Oh, I saw that on his dab.
on top of his bong with his dab torch. Just a nice layer of flavor right on top.
Caramelized.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the flavor's at. Everyone knows that.
Is that where the flavor's at?
It is.
I'm just so fascinated. Like when I found him on Twitter the other day, and for some reason Vince Russo followed him this week. Like, like he tweeted out like Vince Russo now follows you, and I'm like kind of thinking like, why would Vince Russo follow this guy? But he is now quickly my favorite celebrity, if you could call him that on Twitter.
He's got a couple thousand followers. So
You call him an influencer?
I would say he's an influencer.
I've been influenced.
He's influenced you.
You're under the influence because of him. And this guy, he's just funny. He's got some funny Simpsons memes as well. He's also a Simpsons fan.
Yeah.
And he is a stoner.
I'm glad we made a new friend in this time.
This small world.
Oh yeah, it's maintaining friendships hard. Gaining a friend, that's something else.
So, guys, we were talking about it earlier. Like, it's Sunday, and there's a pay-per-view tonight. We all kind of like half-assed did not know that it was happening tonight.
It's also Mother's Day.
And we haven't watched any like WWE programming since WrestleMania.
I think there's the one match that I know besides the Money in the Banks, and is Braun and Bray Wyatt.
That I didn't know that was a match.
I think that's a match.
I honest to God did not like.
It's just so stale. Like,
it's stale.
I mean, WrestleMania was a novel kind of thing.
Match, yeah.
Yeah, WrestleMania was kind of a novel thing, but like the WWE, it's just blasé.
It's tough. It's tough to get through. And people were tweeting last night about the UFC pay-per-view that was happening. Like, it's so weird watching pay-per-view, like this UFC pay-per-view with nothing going on, with no fans. I'm like, motherfucker, I sat through the biggest event, 2 days of the biggest event of any wrestling fan's life, you know,
Just us and Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, I had to sit through 2 days of that shit just to see 2 matches that I was very entertained with that didn't even take place in that studio. Like, it's I'm used to it by now.
It was trying, and we were definitely more entertained by the AEW stuff. And we got together and we Zoomed every week, and that was kind of like a gathering point midweek for us to.
And you were a
hang
Juggalo.
out. Yeah.
You were at COVID Juggalo 420, and that's also a gathering of the Juggalo.
Yeah, whoop whoop.
Well, not this year, boys.
Not this year.
You know, I meant to get Davenport, Sharky Peanut Butter Pancake, man of many names, to take a picture of the half-mast twisted flag in his neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because I think that was in honor of the gathering.
Yeah. So Davenport, one of our buddies and also a contributor to $2 Steak, started like he lives in a neighborhood. He's probably closer to my neighborhood than anybody else in this group, and he was sending us messages that a guy in his neighborhood, a guy, maybe not a guy, but definitely a Juggalo, lives in his neighborhood and has a Hatchet Man flag flying in his yard. And then after the announcement of the gathering being canceled this year, that flag was hung at half staff, which, you know, is in reverence. And RIP to the gathering. I'm sure there would have been some amazing professional wrestling there, because they always do with Juggalo Championship Wrestling. JCW.
So we're gonna have to go next year, boys.
I don't think I can do it.
I
I'm all about like random crazy adventures with the boys, but the gathering would be something else.
Did we mention it? I think Travis said it would be like Jane Goodall, like in the wild.
But it's like let me go to my white collar job and be like, yeah, I'm gonna need a week off. Why? I'm gonna go to the gathering. Gathering of what?
Is it like Bonnaroo? Not at all like Bonnaroo.
It's like, look, Aaron, I've taught this one to communicate.
He just speaks in whoop whoop. What does that mean?
I give him edibles though, and he does tricks.
Oh man, you know, I think it was when we watched that documentary. What really set me
American
off?
Juggalo.
Yeah, was the guy that painted his face with spray paint. And I'm like, after that, I'm like, yeah, this is not my people.
I was just thinking, like, Tolbert was talking about you could train him to do things. I was like, if we can get a giant hamster, we might be able to power, you know, some cities or something like that, because they have a lot of the Juggalos have a lot of excess.
They're all hopped up on Fuego.
Adiposity, and they could burn those calories, and we can actually make some good out of the world from the Juggalos.
You know, this week there was that asshole, that podcast dude on, I think it's called Your Mom's House. and he was talking shit about wrestlers.
Tom
and-
Segura?
Yeah.
An asshole?
Well, I mean, like he
I
was
tweeted at him. I wrote him a haiku.
he was comparing wrestling fans to Special Olympians, right? which is hilarious. It's kind of funny in a way because as educated, we're all educated wrestling fans in this room right now.
Smarks.
We're smarks, but I wouldn't really consider us smarks in a way that like there's some smarks that are just like incels, and we're not
Yes,
really like that
yes.
kind of incel population. But I'm watching this, and then I just think that like, oh man, those Juggalo ones are really exactly what he was describing. So there are some crossover wrestling nerds that I am not.
Wrestling inbreds.
Yeah, in my state last night after the UFC fight, I tweeted at Tom Segura. I wrote him a haiku.
You were hammered last night. Was it a good haiku?
I liked it. Yeah.
Sailor Jerry's good. Mike eat brisket.
wrestling.
It was better. It had more depth to it than that, boys.
Well, give it to us during the social media
Remind me, 'cause
update.
I have a lot and I have nothing for the social media update. So there's a lot we can talk about, and then there's also nothing we can talk about. So yeah, just remind me. I'll forget.
Well, today is it is Mother's Day,
Yes.
which is a big day. None of us are mothers. We all have mothers. And, in honor of Mother's Day, we've got some wrestling matches. I'm just kidding. We have nothing to do with Mother's Day because this is not coming out on Mother's Day. But let's get to the professional wrestling matches. For In Heat with Big Mike.
Getting heat.
Getting in heat.
In the heat of the night with Big Mike.
In the heat of the night.
The heat of the moment.
In the heat of the moment. Yeah, I like that one too. Mike, you have got Genichiro Tenryu against Stan Hansen.
All right, boys. I watched a lot of wrestling this week. I watched everybody's match. I totally just dropped the ball on the date and time of my match.
It was 1988. I think it was kind of right after when Bruiser Brody was killed.
Okay. Well,
Or maybe not. Let me kind of do some research.
all right. Well, anyway, so it's, how do you say his name?
Genichiro Tenryu.
Tenryu.
Tenryu. 10 kangaroo.
Kangaroo. Tenryu. And Stan Hansen. Oh my God. Blink and you'll miss it. The video opens up and Stan Hansen's just whooping this dude's ass in the crowd.
Within 2 seconds of the match.
There's no interest. I was like, what happened? I literally load it, go to my other screen, look up, and then Stan Hansen's beating Tenryu's ass in the crowd.
Literally 10 days after Bruiser Brody was killed.
That makes sense then because throughout the match, Stan Hansen's just being this devilish, wild gaijin guy. He's just beating the living shit out of Tenryu, scaring the fans. I mean, it's like classic 80s heel Japanese wrestling.
Oh, it's amazing.
I loved it. I mean, it opens up, he's beating Tenryu in the crowd. The first 4 or 5 minutes of the thing, Stan Hansen is in the ring, and he's just like, "Come on, man, get in here!" And Tenryu is literally KO'd, knocked out. He's bleeding. He's not even
Everywhere.
He's not even in the ring yet. At one point, his young lions, even though they look middle-aged lions, try to get him up, and Stan Hansen goes back out there, beats their ass, hits Tenryu again, and gets back in the thing. He's like, "Come on, man, get in here! Well, let's do this thing." It was action-packed from Stan Hansen.
Very
right off the
much
bat.
so. One of those young lions I was watching is Kento Kobashi.
Really?
Yeah, he is.
Really?
He is one of the young lions. You see him towards the middle of your match, and I was watching. I'm like, Kenta Kobashi's got this shape of a face that you cannot ever recreate, and it was definitely him.
You think he learned something from Stan?
He learned something from all of those guys.
It's a duck.
Did not learn from Joey Janela or Jeff Hart. I will tell you that.
Yeah, so Tenryu's got color before the match even starts. He finally gets into the ring, stumbling. I don't even know if he knows where he is. And they're trying to wrap the poor man's head, trying to get him bandaged up so he can start this match. And what does Stan Hansen do? He grabs his ass, and knees him in the face, and then the bell rings.
The match starts. The matches now begin after all this shit.
Stan Hansen's just laying massive, huge forearms, knees, all this sort of stuff, elbows. At one point, Stan Hansen hits a damn near perfect Dirty Deeds.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's just beating the shit out of Tenryu. I saw it and I almost yelled, Death Rider! Because he didn't get Tenryu vertical, but I think it's just because he was knocked unconscious and he was limp before he even hit the ground, so he couldn't get his legs straight for the Death Rider. And this is early, and he gets a 2 count. I was a little disappointed by that. He no-sold the move. But so you mentioned Bruiser Brody, and so like it's Japanese commentary. You no idea what's going on. You can hear inflections and stuff and excitement, but you don't know what they're saying. And then all of a sudden you hear Bruiser Brody.
Yeah, you hear it a bunch throughout the match.
And so I didn't know in relation to like when or like that happened and all of that. So props to Stan Hansen, because Bruiser Brody was a little sooner than Stan Hansen, right? Like going to Japan and doing all that sort of stuff, right?
A little bit sooner, but they did have a lot of overlap, and they partnered together a lot, and then they went against each other a lot. And being 2 Americans in Japan, they had to have a close relationship. Yeah, I take it.
Well, and like Bruiser's like the top, the epsilon, the baddest MFer in Japan that they had ever seen at that point. He swings. What does Bruiser swing? He
had like chains. He had like a rope.
Chain. Yeah. So Stan swings the rope,
the bull rope. Yeah.
And so it's like props to Stan Hansen for getting over that much, and like they're comparing him to Bruiser Brody, so he's got to be doing something right. Stan Hansen hits Tenryu with a couple of these shoulder charges that just straight nasty. What's Stan Hansen? 6'2", 6'3", 300 pounds?
Yeah. Yeah, he's a thick boy.
And he's running full speed. Tenryu, props to this man, sells it like no other. He runs full speed into Stan Hansen. He looked kind of like Sammy Guevara getting hit by that golf cart. Except there was a lot more velocity and momentum between these two, because Stan Hansen probably weighed as much as that golf cart with Hardy and Omega on it.
He's 6'4", 321 pounds.
All right, so that's close.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Just again, he's just whooping up on Tenryu. I have no idea who Tenryu is.
So Tenryu was actually one of the most popular professional wrestlers in Japan.
Really? In
the late 80s, early 90s. He then had a stint in WCW and WWF. I watched one of those, I think it was Tuesday Night Titans. It's like a talk show, and it had Bobby the Brain Heenan and everybody. And Bobby the Brain Heenan was supposed to... Sean Mooney and Bobby the Brain Heenan were going to interview Genichiro Tenryu, who knows no English. And Bobby the Brain Heenan just kept saying fried rice like the entire time.
Oh my God.
And you just look
like, is it racist?
Yeah. Completely racist. But he was a very popular wrestler in Japan.
Okay, well, that's surprising to me, honestly, when we get to my final thoughts. But getting back to the match, something has popped Tenryu's face even more. It's like a bright, juicy tomato at this point. Not quite Muda, but it's got the visual aesthetics almost of it.
Very much so.
And as he's like laying there, like pouring blood out of his face, Stan Hansen hits this massive running knee drop, and it like how do you take that, and how do you give it without actually just kneeing this dude in the face?
You take it.
He's just like, all right, this is my life. Again, another huge shoulder charges. Finally, our boy Tenryu gets a little shine, gets a little offense in. He hits this like kick to Stan when Stan was going for the probably the closer, the end of life elbow, and Tenryu like gets a kick in the gut, starts getting some nice strikes.
I think this was like 10 minutes in the match.
Probably more than that. I mean, in the video itself was 18 minutes. He probably starts getting offense in at like 13 or 14.
That's insane to me.
And so he finally, I don't know the names of the moves still, but he goes to get Stan Hansen up for like a suplex or back body drop or something like that. And like he doesn't get him up. He doesn't get him up, and the crowd's roaring a little, building up a little bit. And then he gets him up, and the crowd pops. And I was like, I popped because Tenryu, I mean, he's not tiny, but he's not big.
No,
he's just a dude.
Yeah.
And you get this massive Stan Hansen creature up. And props to Stan Hansen for having the core strength to get vertical on that thing. Dude, the aesthetics of that move is all on the receiver to get vertical and hold it. Yeah. So crowd pops. We get a couple 2 counts back and forth. We do get a big false finish on where Tenryu hits this spinning heel kick on Stan, hits him in the back of the head. That looked pretty good. I was pretty happy with that. At some point throughout this whole thing, Tenryu does something where he ends up on the apron, and Stan hits this crazy shoulder charge on him, and he goes flying. Yeah. He flies off the apron. To the floor, but not just to the floor, over the guardrail in the air and then to the floor, I think. And it was crazy. And again, you're just like, Stan Hansen is just a monster. Yeah, like that's why. Well, a couple months ago, I was like, give me a Stan Hansen match. I just want to watch this dude beat the shit out of somebody.
Yes. I love it. You like throw a dart and see a match with this guy just beating the shit out of somebody,
and also making smaller Japanese people just run in terror.
Oh my god, it's like Moses parting the Red Sea. Stan Hansen walking through a crowd. So Tenryu finally gets some that offense, and we finally get a little bit of equality through the match and the work, and Tenryu goes back for I think like a pile driver. He tries to get Stan up again, tries to get that pop, tries to get that move, and Stan actually doesn't let him, and it's like you could tell just Tenryu's just probably just blown up.
They're both blown up.
But like Tenryu just got his ass beat for 14, 15, 16 minutes, so he can't get Stan up. So, in Tenryu's head, he's like, all right, I gotta do something bigger. I go to the top. He goes to the corner post, top rope. He's going to hit him with this big move. And Stan Hansen hits him off the corner post. Tenryu goes
blasted him.
Flying again. And then, we get this classic heel move. Stan Hansen says, count him! Tenryu gets counted out.
And then the greatest pose in professional wrestling. They have just that middle shot of Stan Hansen, and he just does... Yeah!
Throws up the horn.
The Texas horns, and I'm like, you were the greatest. Yeah. Like, I love you, Stan Hansen.
Did he play at Texas?
He's from Texas. He went to that West Texas state
where everybody else did too.
Because he was trained by Terry and Dory.
Okay.
If you can kind of see that kind of like air of what the fuck chaos that the Funk Brothers were very famous for.
What did he ever work in America, or is it?
He did, yeah. So he started off in WWF, and then he worked in WCW and NWA for a little bit. He was okay in America, but like for some reason his character just connected.
So he went full Lance Hoyt.
Oh my god! Yeah. Like people loved him in Japan,
dude. It is something to behold to watch the Japanese people respond. So if I ever get to go to Japan, I think I might just go full Stan Hansen.
You'll chase all the Japanese people away.
Start swinging a rope over my head shirtless. Like, look at that. Because Stan's not a body guy, but he's not he's not fat either. He's just thick, and I think I'm borderline that thickness. And I would just love to kind of get a crowd reaction. So final thoughts of the match. The first 2/3 are just Stan whooping this dude's ass. It's any kind of classic Stan. If you YouTube Stan Hansen, you're gonna watch a match where he just beats some jobber's ass for a long time, unless you get like the big heavyweight title fight. But when Tenryu got some offense in, my one knock, and this is what surprises me about you saying he was really popular, is it was almost as if the crowd just knew it doesn't matter. Stan's going to beat this dude's ass.
Right.
And so that's props to Stan being so believable and so over. But like, Tenryu, finally gets some offense, and he does get the pop when he gets Stan up for that suplex. But like, it was never like cheering, roaring. I think the crowd shrieked for Stan louder than they cheered Tenryu. And that was kind of just like a little disappointing. Because I mean,
I thought I heard some Hansen chants in there.
Probably.
somewhere.
He made a fan out of me.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
It may have just been me.
30 years later, of course. And my other issue with it was the finish. It looked fine, but the move in the middle of the match where he goes from the apron over the guardrail was sold and looked so much better than the top rope move. I wish they would have just either not done the middle move spot or did that
as the finish.
Yeah, because like Tenryu had to like sell it a little bit more to like and flamboyantly, which didn't go with any of the other sells or anything else in the match. So I was kind of just like, no. Overall, I will always and gratefully and gladly watch Stan Hansen beat somebody's ass.
Okay.
I like that style. I mean, and
it's fun,
and it's what we were talking about with the UFC last night. Like I like strikes. I like the simplicity of it. And so yeah, just that '80s kind of big boy wrestling kind of style.
And it's interesting. It's a different style, especially from today, and it's definitely different from something like you would see in WWF at the time, which would be like punch, rest, hold sort of thing. This is just maul somebody.
Yeah, that's a great way to. Yeah, just you see your opponent like hurt. You're not going to just sit there and like open your hands and stare at the crowd. Like you're going to just be like, go beat his ass some more.
Yeah, the psychology behind it makes sense.
It's like it's real.
It's real. It's still real to me. This isn't the Special Olympics. All right, Mike. This week we have had a very busy week of social media in both Instagram and Twitter. So for the social media update, my shtick here at $2 Studios, I just like shit on everybody. I shit on you guys. I shit on people on the internet. Right.
And I gave Tolbert praise last week, and I'm going to have to give him praise again because I stole. No, there were nobody Tolbert stealing my ideas from Twitter and putting it on Instagram. I stole Tolbert's the post he made this morning on
the Mother's
Instagram.
Day? I saw yours first.
He put Judy Bagwell up and said like, "Thank you for everything you do," and like going to new heights or whatever. Like, well, I was like, dude, I got to steal that.
Always rising above and beyond.
Always rising above and beyond.
You get it?
I did.
He's on a forklift.
And he Instagrammed Judy on the forklift, and I was like, I got to steal that and tweet that out because it was hilarious.
I looked at that first. I looked at the Twitter version first, and I thought that Tolbert had stolen that for Instagram.
No, that was a condensed version of Tolbert. It was awesome. He also had some the Shawn Michael, was that this week?
That was this week, yes.
Yeah,
where he's like getting ready to like come in on one of the WrestleManias or something like that.
Yeah, on the zip line.
And Tolbert said like me when the bar's open or whatever, going back to work.
Go back to work. My first shift back.
Yeah, and then
coming in.
Obviously the Days That Confuse Terry.
That's my favorite.
Where he just has no idea what's going on, and Tolbert's like quarantined out and doesn't know what day it is.
Shot, dude. That was a perfect shot.
Yeah, did you get that from your match this week?
I was watching. I was working yesterday, and I was watching it on my phone, and I just noticed the face he made when he rolled out of the ring. It was perfect. I was like, I had to screenshot it.
It was so funny. His face half covered in blood, and he just looks confused.
Dazed.
It was
Where am I?
phenomenal.
So great work, Tolbert. In case you're wondering, he's up to 126 followers on Instagram.
That's right.
But for 2 weeks we've had some solid undertakings on Instagram, and I really appreciate it. Twitter. Just it's like I cooked a brisket the other day, and you get a stall when you cook meat and smoke meat, and we're just kind of stalling at this like high 280s. We're just kind of 289.
Yeah, I thought that we
gained a couple, and but like we lost some, and I can't find them because it's again
he's looking.
It's cumbersome, but yeah, we're just 289. The best action one. Shout out Andy. Thank you, Andy, for actually engaging and tweeting at us and just being an awesome follower. You're our number one boo.
We appreciate you.
And congratulations for being Teacher of the Year at Purnell Sweat High School.
Wow, you're blowing him up.
Oh, did I just dox Andy? I'm sorry, Andy, but that was pretty cool.
And
we have an educated person listening to our podcast.
But other than that, Twitter has been just this wild ride. I had a bunch of tweets last night because I'd been drinking a little bit, watching the UFC, just responding to people, a little bit. Just engaging. One of the things they say is like if you want to build your social media, you have to engage with the people that you follow and that follow you. So I had a couple back and forths with some people, made some references that I have no idea if they made sense or not.
They for the most part did. A couple of them
Yokozuna
I
had a
was
golden
kinda,
corral.
Yeah, a couple of the times I was kind of like, there was a stretch, but yeah, it worked.
Went to the well a few too many times.
Went to
was
the
also
bar.
drinking. Don't forget he was drinking.
Went to the kitchen a few too many
Went to
times.
the well whiskey.
But we talked about the Tom Segura thing, and I don't know if I didn't know it was a thing until yesterday, where it's like it had already happened, and all the WWE people started blowing up, and then somebody like posted a video. I'm like, hey, I texted you guys. Did you hear about this?
Yeah,
I didn't know it was a thing.
And it was like it's Tom Segura shitting on wrestling fans, but he's like shitting on he's shitting
dumb
on,
wrestling.
He's shitting on the idea that at this point wrestling fans don't understand, which really. Mostly it's kids that don't really understand. So like, yeah, you're either a child or retarded if you're not. If you think this is all.
Oh my God, Mike!
No,
that word you're not supposed to use. We can say "come."
I'm paraphrasing Tom Segura, the comedian, and so he's basically saying that like like people don't know it's a work, and at this point the majority of fans do.
Correct.
So I did actually tweet at Tom Segura, and I wrote a haiku last night, even though I was drunk. It was a drunk coup.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, I'll read the whole tweet. I said, Tom Segura, everybody can be a bunch of Karens at times. People like that, or people like what they like and hate what they hate. Just know that wrestling and movies share common themes. And I said, marks are going to mark. We still enjoy the action. Stories entertain.
Okay.
I thought that was a good condensed and stories entertain. That's 5 syllables. It's 2 words.
For a second, I thought the first part he read was his haiku. I was like, no, Mike, no, that's too many syllables. You were wasted.
Do you even know what a haiku is? But yeah, I mean, we did pretty well on Twitter this week.
I was like looking back, we did a ton.
Most of the stuff if you have an organic tweet, it's easier to track and you get a little more action because like the people see it and all that sort of stuff. If you at people, unless people are searching that person or unless that person actually responds, they're not going to get much. But we had some good back and forths with some people. I mean, couple hundred impressions.
Our ode to FMW Day on Cinco de Mayo was pretty good.
Yeah, well, I didn't even understand that. You got a couple. You got a retweet on that, I think.
I got 3.
3.
Yeah, every May 5th. It was kind of like FMW's big deal, and that's when they would always do the exploding ring death matches with Terry Funk and Onita, and then Hayabusa and Onita. So like, I tweeted that, and then a gif of Terry Funk going into the exploding wires.
Yeah. But yeah, we're just chugging along. Like we've stalled out. We're gonna have to wrap and pack this brisket, boys, and get it through the stall so we can run to the finish to get to 500, so I can watch Cookie break his neck on Tolbert's stomach.
That was a good meat analogy there.
Yeah, you like that? Yeah. I did. I smoked a brisket. I made my own homemade buns and a barbecue sauce yesterday.
I'm excited to taste this.
You made your own buns.
All of it was homemade. Nice. Crushed it. Knocked it out of the park.
Speaking of homemade, how are them cookies over there, Varnum?
Are you trying to get one from?
Is that gum? Or what are you eating?
The cookies are fucking delicious. Thank you to Katie and Alistair for that.
Oh.
But that's social media this week. I mean,
can I mention one thing that I was very disappointed in? Little Richard passed away yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And I know that there was. I respect Little Richard, and
So you're saying you respect Little Dick?
So I felt really bad for the tweet that I did, but I thought it was funny in a wrestling sense. I tweeted out hashtag rest in peace Little Richard, and then posted a picture of Johnny B. Bad yesterday, thinking that like it would get some traction from people being like, that's not Little Richard, how dare you. Like I just thought that because it's kind of funny, right?
Well, it's funny, but
it was definitely too soon.
Not too soon. Like there's a whole. We'll talk about this off air.
What?
Well, there's a whole like internet thing where how they basically like say like all old black people are the same. So
no!
That's kind of what you.
No, see, this is exactly his whole gimmick was Little Richard.
But what I'm saying is,
were you drunk?
Kind of reads that way.
It's almost in bad taste.
Cookie, was it in bad taste? His whole gimmick was supposed to be Little Richard.
It might be a little.
That's how I kind of took it, Aaron.
Do I need to delete that?
No,
It's
in the ether now. It's in the ether.
It's already out there, man. It's already out there.
This is a good lesson where some things that you think might be perceived one way can be perceived another.
Well, you know, like the way that I did it was in a whole wrestling sense. This is Aaron's sensitivity training 101 right now.
You know what? I have a question. Who's the one that tweeted out? I guess it was you. Who tweeted out #6ix9ine? Where did that come from? Is what I want to know.
That's that classic ride the coattails of anything.
That was the most random one I've ever seen. I was like,
I just see the first top 3 things that are trending. And
And Tekashi 6ix9ine was one of them.
Yeah.
6ix9ine and Bitcoin. I was like, what?
So he was watching Tekashi 6ix9ine's new video last night.
Did you watch it?
I'm such a white dad at this point. I was like, so tell me about this 6ix9ine fellow, Tolbert. I was like, wasn't he in jail? Isn't he a snitch? What is this?
It was great. He was.
I thought it was Aaron this entire time. It was you, Mike.
What?
It was you.
As a matter of fact, you know that I know my music. Like,
I know you do, man. Big Heath.
But yeah, no, Cookie, that was just me just trying to ride coattails of America.
oh, well, that's good. Do you have a shit list this week?
I actually, I don't have a formal shit list. I have a ode to karma.
Okay.
Thank you, karma, because Brad Shepard got fired.
I knew it.
That fucking weasel doesn't have a job because he sucks, and his employers finally realized it. But then he did the classic weasel, like sniveling like weasel thing. He's like, "Oh, I didn't get fired. I quit." So,
Aaron and Brad kind of look alike.
yeah, that's what we had this conversation. You know what? Brad is also probably mildly racist and definitely sexist. So Aaron's trying to fit that bill.
I am neither of those. I would like to say I am not Brad Shep. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do the classic, like Vince McMahon circa Undertaker ministry and be like, "It was me, Austin. It was me the whole time."
We're gonna find one AirPod. Just be like, Aaron, what is this? But anyway, yeah. In case anybody cares, or does or does not know who Brad Shepard is, he's a fucking weasel and he got fired.
That's it.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just, maybe we squash this Twitter vendetta of ours until he does something else stupid.
We feel bad for him at this point.
I don't feel bad at all.
Is that what you're saying? That
No,
we squash
absolutely
it?
not,
No,
no.
I say kick the motherfucker while he's down. Every fucking thing that he does, be like,
just at him every day when I'm going to work. Hey, Brad, I'm going to work. How about you?
sure is nice to have health insurance provided by my work environment. All right, Brad Shepard, you made your own shit list this week. So, Brad, you made
Karma's
shit list. To switch things up a little bit for Cookie this week. Cookie, you actually had the one, like, legit wrestling match out of the whole week, which is kind of weird. Like, Mike had just this one-sided mauling, and you'll hear about Tolbert's very interesting occurrence.
Not only did Cookie have like a legit wrestling, he almost had a shoot wrestling match.
It was amazing.
Anyway, that's all I'll say. So,
Cookie, you have got Kurt Angle against Shelton Benjamin from 2005.
Yeah, from 2005. It was Monday Night Raw. It was just a random match of these two put together.
I think they said it was the day after SummerSlam, so that would probably put it like late August.
Yes. So, and it's right before Kurt Angle's like big heel run.
Correct, and it was right before Eddie died too. So like,
wow.
So this is like this period of wrestling, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that I started watching wrestling again in 2005, the day Eddie Guerrero died.
Wow.
So this is like a couple weeks before I started watching wrestling again.
Yeah.
And the reason why I started watching wrestling again, no joke, was the night of Eddie Guerrero's death. They had a tribute show.
Yeah.
There was no storylines, just wrestling matches. And there was a match between Shelton Benjamin and Kurt Angle. It was kind of like a rematch because this one was so good. And I watched it, and I was just completely taken aback. I'm like, this is what professional wrestling is now? Like, I have to start watching again. Like this, Shelton Benjamin immediately became my favorite wrestler in the world. I thought he was amazing.
He is one of the best pure wrestlers, and they talk about it on the commentary. Him and Kurt Angle, two of the best pure wrestlers. You can throw Brock in there if you want to, of course, but WWE protects him so much. You would never see Brock Lesnar tossed around or taken down the way Shelton did with Kurt Angle. So it was just amazing to see like the mentor fight the mentee. And
Minty.
I guess that's the word. I don't know.
I think it kind of is, but it's also like a flavor.
Oh yeah. Well, you got Shelton. Shelton was his underling. It was Shelton used to be in Team Angle with Charlie Haas. The greatest tag team.
We've got Team Angle Part 2, which is Cookie Cookie Benjamin and. Was it Aaron Varnum?
Charlie Varnum. Charlie Varnum. Anyway, Angle was a 2-time NCAA champion in Pennsylvania.
Clarion University. I did not know that.
Is that near where you're from?
It's like 80 miles from where I grew up. They rival Slippery Rock.
Really? So it's a Division 2?
It's a D2, but like there's the wrestling back in the 80s and 90s. Like in the PSAC was awesome. Like Slippery Rock had like nationally ranked wrestlers all the time. It was like one of the go-to schools. And then Title IX got rid of the wrestling team.
Well, here's something that's super interesting is that they're the Eagles, and the Eagle logo for Clarion University is the one that Kurt uses on his tights.
No shit.
Yeah, I just looked it up and I was just like, holy shit, that's where he got the Eagle from.
Did you know that he was also Kurt Angle was a part of that Fox Foxcatcher group?
Oh, really?
He was one of the wrestlers that trained in that Foxcatcher group before the guy shot the other guy, and then.
Whoa! Spoilers! I haven't seen the movie yet.
Well, it happened in real life. Motherfucker shot somebody.
You can Google it.
Yeah, I can tell you, it doesn't end happy.
Well,
watch the documentary though.
Anyway, let's get to the countdown, man.
Fuck you, Steve Carell. Cookies top 4. Number 1.
Shelton fucking Benjamin. This is so hard to do. I don't even think I can do it. And I think I can do a lot of things. But
you do.
This match is a shoot wrestling match. Like for the first 7 minutes, it's just shoot wrestling.
It's awesome.
There was not.
It is amazing.
A strike did not happen until Kurt Angle kicked Shelton Benjamin. It was just wrestling until then.
And I think it was also it was just awesome to see these two go at it. Like if no fans were there, if they were just on the wrestling mat, just trying to do traditional amateur wrestling. It was amazing to watch it because Shelton's amazing and he can work in the wrestling style, the Western style, but he is great at what he does in terms of amateur wrestling as well. But he's also a fucking athlete. So Kurt Angle is working his arm and Shelton is trying to break it. So what does he do? But from the mat, he jumps up to the top rope and backflips out of the wrist lock. I've never seen that done. No one can do that. I can't do that.
Yeah.
But Shelton Benjamin.
You definitely can't do that.
You can't do that.
I just watched him do it. No.
I'm not doing that shit. No, I would never.
I would love to see you try it
in a wrestling ring. I want to
break
watch
my
you fuck your nuts.
Zane Dawson, I'm calling you out. Let me do this move on you, brother. No, maybe not.
do you know what would make me eat crow if we get Cookie in a wrestling ring and then he's the most amazing professional wrestler and gets signed immediately. Like we film it and then they see it and then he's the world champ within.
Pull some ricochet shit.
Yeah, but you didn't think I could do that?
He can do some ricochet stuff.
No, I'm not doing all the ricochet stuff. Good God. Oh man.
Well, there's this one move I think I can do.
I call it the 22.
So I need you to hold the phone though.
Dim the lights. All right.
Number 2. I forgot what we're doing.
What is this?
Oh man. Okay, yeah. Number 1 was the backflip out of the wrist lock. Number 2, the people of Clarion, Pennsylvania.
Loved it.
Oh man, the King, I'm sure pissed some people off with this one. So JR is dropping his knowledge. He's doing the shtick
that's right, yeah.
about the wrestlers. Typical JR stuff. He says Angle wrestled in Clarion, Pennsylvania. And King ain't having it. King says, JR, no one gives a damn about Clarion, Pennsylvania. He was a WWE champion. And JR says, I'm sure the people of Clarion care about Clarion. But the king is so quick. He says, oh, yeah, I hear they have their town hall meetings in the phone booth. And I looked the town up, and there's only 5,300 people.
Well,
Yeah, it's a small town. It's kind of in the what are the foothills of the Appalachians.
do they have a good hot dog stand like that one place?
We didn't eat there, but I played a rugby. So I'd only ever been to Clarion once because we played rugby.
They had a rugby team?
They had a college rugby team.
Oh, you played. Okay,
but
so you
the
played
men's
the
club
college
in Youngstown goes and plays this like round robin with some college kids, and we just beat the fucking shit out of them. And it got so bad that like we got to our second or third game of the round robin. They're like, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and stop.
Wow, Clarion, man, bunch of quitters there.
I feel so bad for him now. Is it near Quarantine USA? Maybe not.
Nah, I mean it's like if you had to describe Quarantine as white trash, this is like that's like Southern white trash is Quarantine. This is like coal miner trash.
Coal miner trash.
Coal miner trash. Okay,
Interesting. All right, number 2.
number 3.
How quick is Kurt, man? Scaling the ropes, hits an overhead, belly to belly. It's a 2-count false finish, but like Kurt is amazing. And you know what I wanted to see? I wanted to see Shelton hop to that top rope.
Oh,
I've seen him do it in so many different matches.
The thing that I find most fascinating about Kurt Angle is that Kurt Angle had a career in shoot wrestling.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he got
just a career. He's got a gold fucking medal.
He's got to go with a broken freaking neck. And he just said one day he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna try professional wrestling." And like within 2 months,
excelled in it.
he became one of the greatest professional wrestlers.
Anatomically, I'm not sure how a thumb moves like that, but
Amazing.
He's so fluid. I loved watching this entire thing.
Everything that like this may be like. And I'm glad that you got to see this because you were there through the Baron Corbin time of Kurt Angle where it just looked like a reanimated corpse. It just got like
Weekend at Bernie's
with some like electrical shocks every once in a while. But this was like the Kurt Angle that I like fell in love with.
And that's where like I like some of this stuff because I can appreciate because I only ever saw Kurt Angle as just like not opioid addicted, chubby thumb Kurt Angle, and so to see him and just watch him work, and I can see why everybody's like he's the best wrestler ever.
He's jacked. He can fly. He can talk. He can do the funny stuff. Like whatever you need him to do, he can work it. Basically.
Can I say one thing about Kurt Angle though?
What's that?
He spits a lot.
Yes. He does spit a lot.
The entire match, I'm like, oh, this in a post-COVID or COVID era of our life. That motherfucker spit every 2 seconds, just hawking, just huge loogies on the mat. Shelton
he's just
laying all in it.
Yeah, he's like, God damn it, Kurt. All right, last one.
All right, number 4.
Man, what a hell of a wrestling match. He showed out, Shelton Benjamin did, and Kurt made him look good. And dude, I forgot this was the start of Kurt's last heel run where he did the stand on the chair and reenact the whole gold medal ceremony.
Yes.
I love this. This was right before he left the WWE and went to TNA. It was great stuff, man. WWE really dropped the ball on Kurt. I feel like they, let him leave a little soon. I feel like he had a little bit of juice left in him.
I remember actually being shook the day that I jumped on the dirt sheets and saw that his ass had signed with TNA. Like, that was the one thing that I never thought would happen. And it was such a weird time.
Did he leave WWE or
he was asked to leave because of a couple drug test things and some issues he had with. It was a weird time in WWE. It was like right around the time of the Benoit stuff, and like it just kind of was a weird time.
It was like a phasing out period for like Kurt. It was weird. His gimmick, it wasn't getting stale, but I guess it was. And I don't know.
At that time, there was a ton, like every day, like there was a huge scandal with steroids, and like 40 people got busted with, like, professional wrestlers got busted with these steroids, like.
Yeah.
All this stuff happened. It was right after Benoit, and like they were testing really hard for things, and it was just a weird period.
I remember that, man.
Yeah, I mean,
it was like 20 wrestlers that got hit with the HGH stuff.
Like
man.
Mr. Kennedy, RKO,
Umaga, John Morrison, all those people, man.
Yeah, man, it was weird.
It was a weird time, man. But I'll go into my honorable mentions. Coach Jonathan Coachman's on the mic, and he fucking sucks as a commentator.
He annoyed the shit out of me the entire time.
God, take him off. Take him off the commentary, man. It's amazing. Kurt Angle is doing all of this with a broken shoulder, is what he says at one point. Right. And JR just politely goes, Coach, I don't think his shoulder's broken. But King, once again, is quick, and he's just like, it might be.
I think at one point
so
also...
they save it.
I think at one point also, JR just completely kills all of Coach's credibility. And he was talking about Kurt Angle, and he said, well, son, I was here for Kurt Angle's very first match, and you just started.
Yeah,
right?
And he was quiet for the rest of the time. Oh man, but JR, I think the commentary team they may have made this match a little bit, because JR at one point says the fat lady ain't singing, she's eating a donut.
Yeah, whatever that means, JR.
I was like, all right, JR. It's just funny little bits like that, man. But it's by far one of my favorite matches to watch. It was great. I'm gonna give it 5 cookies just because it was a fun little match. It was only 10 minutes, but it was solid.
And it was a sprint. Like the whole time there was no rest holds. Like there was a couple submissions, but the submissions meant something in the wrestling match where it was like it was an ebb and a flow. Like that was the point where it needed to slow down. It needed to establish that there was a heel, there was a face. Yeah. Because up until that point, it was just a shoot wrestling match.
It was.
Also, the fluidity of the whole thing was just like obviously they're going to be able to fluidly wrestle because that's what they did. But to start adding the different spots here and there, and then the one where like Shelton like pulls the rope down and like Kurt goes over it, it just worked so well. I loved this.
I thought it was amazing.
The backflip out of the German suplex was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I was just about to get
how do you land that? Like I don't understand.
He backflips out of the German suplex, and he also at one point he overhead belly to belly some over the top rope.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle does.
I think that was like during a commercial break.
Yeah,
that was a commercial break.
How do you miss that? Like, why is that during the commercial break? Man, a phenomenal athlete, man. I wish they would have put a rocket on him and just shot him to the moon. Shelton Benjamin, I'm talking about.
Do you know what's funny though? Like we can use this time to thank Shelton Benjamin's mama. Because that was a part of the Mother's Day extravaganza. Mama, they were trying to figure out different things to get Shelton Benjamin over, right? So they did the classic racist move of
bringing his mama out,
and him having a theme song that was like "Call my mama," like. And his mom would come out, and it was his heel manager. It was just this old black lady that would be like, nah.
And it's like this actress that you'll see on like, daytime TV and stuff like that.
She had like curlers in her hair.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was just like, what are you guys doing?
It was this episode of Is It Racist?
Yeah, yes. Basically.
Yes, it's racist.
I think this may have been, was this before the Gold Standard portion?
This was before Gold Standard, yeah. So Gold Standard was like one of the last things they did before he left.
So Shelton was never really able to get over because his personality, like whenever they'd get him to talk, it felt scripted and it felt weird.
And that's why I think you can appreciate Kurt Angle even more is like how, and that's what I was thinking about. It's like how you can you have to find somebody who's a phenomenal athlete and then give them charisma and the ability to speak in front of thousands of people if they've never done it before, and like he just kind of rolled with it immediately.
Yeah.
Right.
So the fact that he was able to do that, whereas like you get so many of these others, I mean, it's the same thing with some of these WWE wrestlers that are great wrestlers, but just like milk toast on a mic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like Baron Corbin when he first started. Like Corbin was not great as a talker. Now he's entertaining.
He's a good talker. Everybody hates him.
Yeah.
But they hate his guts.
He's doing his job.
But yeah, he's doing a great job.
He's working them.
Kurt is too, man.
Yeah.
The "you suck" chance, he turned that into a legendary
I love
thing
that.
now.
That's hilarious.
People do it out of respect now.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there comes a point in every man's career, especially like if you reach an echelon like Kurt Angle, where it becomes a respect thing. It's like Jericho's always going to get cheered. Jericho can do the most heelish thing in the world.
Oh yeah,
but people are going to cheer him.
Oh yeah.
Kurt Angle, people are always going to say, "You suck." To Kurt. It's just fun, man. Like
if you came out tomorrow night tonight on the pay-per-view, if people were there, they'd say, "You suck."
I think even at like Kurt Angle's funeral, like people like
they might
lower him down to the ground, and people are
you suck. You suck.
and Kurt Angle would be there in heaven, just smiling.
Just smiling. Like, thank you.
He got over.
Oh man, he finally got over.
All right. So,
by the way, I forgot to say, Shelton Benjamin did lose this match via the ankle lock tap out. Unfortunately, but it was a great end to the match. Though it was phenomenal. Doesn't take away from anything. Cookie match.
Before we finish up your segment, you did pop a bubble this week, and I want you to describe the taste, texture, and you tried your first Ferrero Rocher.
I did.
Chocolate.
I did.
Fancy.
It was like it tastes like a spiked. It's like a spike ball in your mouth. Like it tastes like you're eating a pine cone almost, but like because of the hazelnut that's in it. Man, there's so much hazelnut. I feel like it's a little overpowering compared to the chocolate. That's just me.
You got that government money now. You eating Ferrero Rocher?
No, I literally asked Diane.
Fancy pants over here.
I saw it on an ad somewhere. They were like Ferrero Rocher, and I was like, "Oh, Diane!"
Are you just like in a silk robe, like eating Ferrero Rocher?
One testicle hanging out.
I had my shirt off. I was like just sitting on the couch, and I was like, "I never had those." And Diane goes,
"Pomeranian." Like, where did you get a Pomeranian?
Where did you get a Pomeranian?
I'm enjoying the finer things in life.
Got that government check.
Thank God Diane had a box of them just laying around. She was just like, "Yeah, I had those." Like a student gave them to me.
That's the whitest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I was just like, "Oh, all right." Like I'll try one, and I was like, "This is okay," but yeah,
that's fine.
They're delicious.
At Mr. Tobacco, like if your order is less than $5, they do not allow you to use a credit card because of the stuff. So they have a basket full of singles of Ferrero Rochers there to put your order over, $5. So if I
ever need a Ferrero Rocher, if I ever need my fix,
just go up to Mr. Tobacco.
I got you.
Like we said, Mr. Tobacco has everything you may need.
Mini hookah, Ferrero Rocher.
They have fucking toilet paper there now. Like
The bodega by my house has toilet paper.
amazing.
They had toilet paper through this whole pandemic.
That's right. But it's also like $30.
So no, it was like single ply, and yeah, it was like $5 a roll. But
And it smells like incense.
Everything smells like incense.
All right, for the high spot, Tolbert. This week, I picked some of my my favorite performers. I really like Shelton. I like Kurt. I like Stan Hansen. And you got my all-time favorite, Terry Funk against Road Warrior Hawk. Tell me about it.
Yes. Oh, I'm honored to have the Terry Funk match. Being back in the studio feels good. Yeah, so Terry Funk versus Hawk. No animal. It's Hawk rolling solo. He's taking a little vacay, I guess.
He hurt his nose. He hurt his nose.
So
He's hanging out with Herb Abrams.
He probably did a little bit.
That Herb Abrams drip. So this is 1993. You can tell by the crowd it's 1993.
I love the crowd.
Yeah.
God, I love that crowd.
There's some good T-shirts in there. There's some quality characters in this crowd.
There was an RC Cola T-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, no
I saw
irony.
that.
No irony. That was an RC
There's
Cola.
a guy in a Batman shirt that was super stoked to be there. He was so hyped. We had a lot of kids because we were in it looked like a high school or a middle school
Gymnasium.
Yeah.
You know what? I think they said it was like the Native American Center, wherever this took place. Like, so the Native Americans of that area had a recreation center, and it was taking place there.
Yeah, so that sets the setting for this story. It's about to take place. So Terry starts us off by yelling at the crowd, attacking the staff. He's going in on everybody as he's getting undressed. Yeah, he's hollering. He's getting in people's faces. He's working them up good, but he's all over the place. He's in the bleachers. He's all over.
Classic Terry, man.
49 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And he looks
49 at the time.
amazing at this time.
You've got some people cheering him and telling him he's the greatest, but he never breaks. He's still flinching at them. He's a bad guy. And as he's undressing, Iron Man comes across the speakers. Just as Funk throws his jacket at the camera crew. Get the fuck out of here. A solo Hawk enters the Tuna Fireman. In the process, a Terry Funk attacks the promoter, knocks him out.
I would have too. That guy looked like a weasel.
Yeah.
Can I just say that was one of my favorite entrances? It's just Funk is in his own world.
He bypasses Hawk.
I was just like, what the hell is Terry doing? And he just walked past, fucking knocks out the promoter.
He's like, yeah, he stiffed me last time, or I don't know. Anyway, he knocks him on his ass. Who's his manager in the zebra Technicolor Dreamcoat?
That was oh god. I was thinking about it yesterday. It is
It's not Captain Lou, is it?
no, I'll think of it in a second.
The audio is kind of. They mentioned his name, but the audio is kind of shaky.
It's
like you said
Humperdinck.
Mickey.
It's Oliver Humperdinck.
Yeah, he's got a sweet mullet. And,
He's a big boy. He's kind of fat.
I guess he's kind of Funk's manager in this match. I don't know what he's doing. He's hanging around a lot. He's in the ring.
He looks a little like Carol Baskins.
He does. Yeah. The hair.
He does favor a little bit.
All right, so the match starts. Terry takes it outside immediately. Stiff punches. He starts attacking with the chairs. They're not metal folding chairs, though. They're the plastic form chairs.
Yeah.
And yeah, stiff punches, but comical chair shots,
Yeah.
I'd say. You know, not I wouldn't say goofy, but just
Terry.
weird.
Just Terry.
Yeah, just Terry. Just Terry's
crowd.
being Terry. So this is not a street fight, but within minutes it turns into a street fight.
Before the match even starts.
Yeah, we didn't hear a bell or anything. We're already in the crowd. Before you know it, Hawk is taking a patented Funk pile driver on the gym floor.
Yeah.
And
he knows
in the
something.
process of that, they're tearing the place apart, and they eventually got back to the ring for a moment. But then they get right back out and start going through it. There's Trash Can comes into play. Hawk's just gorilla slamming this trash can on top of Terry's head like a live action figure. Like
It's like a Looney Tunes thing, because at one point after strike number 4, it is formed to the head of Terry Funk. Like it is like you pull it off and it looks like one of those Looney Tune things where somebody's head gets hit with a pole and then their head is formed in the pole.
Yeah, so they make it back to the ring, but it's too late. The ref has already counted them out.
Yeah, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
He's been ringing the bell.
Yeah, the ref counts him out. The timekeeper's just ringing the hell out of the bell. The match is over. These boys just don't care. Terry has a job to do. He goes in on Hawk with the patented Terry Funk tape. He takes off the tape, starts strangling Hawk with it, getting in some stiff punches. But Hawk still has some fight. And, this is actually, I skipped ahead. This is the point where he goes into Terry with the trash can right here.
That's right.
And he takes advantage, bashes Terry with the trash can. Terry realizes there's still some ground in the gymnasium he hasn't covered yet. So they keep brawling through the crowd. In the process, Terry gets busted open. I didn't see how.
It was
really,
probably one of the
because,
trash can
You know,
spots.
they're in the middle of the crowd. People are swarming everywhere. Kids are running over to see what's happening. But he's bleeding good. At this point, Hawk takes him up to the top of the bleachers and it slams his head against the wall, leaving a nice blood print.
It was amazing. There was a complete,
perfect.
just like, it looked like a Rorschach test on the side of the wall, just of Terry Funk's like blood.
I bet it's still there.
They framed it like a Banksy.
Dude, I would have done that. Hell yeah, I would have done that shit. You know what?
Plexiglass over
I'm
it.
gonna hire Terry. I'm gonna get him a private jet to fly to Wilmington. I'm gonna cut him open and then just like right here in my.
Hey, Terry, can you just headbutt my wall, please?
They're plaster walls, Terry. Like they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Go for it. Really go for it. Well, so Terry does he has this flop that he does. It's not like the Flair flop. It's, I guess you call it the
Funk
Funk
style.
flop.
The funk flop, yeah.
And where he does his days, and then he rolls down the bleachers, but he makes sure to hit every single step. Ba-bump, ba-bump,
I would call it
ba-bump.
less of a roll, more of a slither.
Yeah, it was like he stayed like completely stiff the whole time, and then just
Slid, like,
every
down.
single like tier of the bleachers. I laughed out loud. I had to pause it because it was just so funny.
And how would you say, Aaron, chef kiss?
Oh my God, chef kiss.
A great sell. So Hawk drags a beaten, bloody Funk back to the ring to finish the job. Match is over. but he wants to prove a point, and he pins him. He gets the ref. He's like, "Hey, count." It doesn't count though, but he just wants the validation. So Hawk finishes off with Terry. He rolls out of the ring, bloody and dazed. Where I got that picture on the Instagram. Just he doesn't know what's going on. Then Hawk starts in on the zebra coat guy, beats up the manager. But Funk is pissed and he just starts throwing chairs into the ring.
Terry
and
Funk.
hollering and yelling all the way out, just raising hell. Tore that place apart.
So I've been to a bunch of independent wrestling shows. I filmed a bunch of independent wrestling shows. And I knew, like, when I was behind the camera, there's a disconnect. I'm not a part of the audience. I'm not a part of the wrestling match. I'm there to do a job. My job is to film the match, make it look good. And I can kind of feel when things are good and when things are going to make for good television. The most fun I ever had at wrestling matches were when chaos just happened. Like things got out of the ring and it started going all around the armory that we were at. We had a match with Luke Gallows from Bullet Club and all that stuff, from Anderson and Gallows. He was wrestling one of our friends, Charlie Dreamer, in Elizabethtown, North Carolina. And there was a match that was very similar to this. They started going out. They started going into the bathrooms of the armory. They fought in the bathrooms. It was just me and them at that point. Like, nobody was there. But then, like, trash cans and tables, coleslaw was used. Like, Luke Gallows took a handful of coleslaw and, like, shoved it in Charlie's mouth, and it just became, like, this thing. But I knew that it was going to be fun and exciting to show, because as a part of that audience, you don't know what's going to happen. You just have this, like, air of, like, chaos. And it just becomes fun to be there and to experience this. And, like, people are going to tell their grandkids this story of, like, 20 years from now.
I still remember being in the gym of Southview High School, me being like 10 years old, and I don't know who it was, these indie guys, set up a table and had a stage, assembly stage. Powerbombed a guy through a table off the assembly stage.
Yeah,
I remember one of my mom's teacher friends like, "Why'd they do that? That's one of Southview's $200 tables. Why would they do that?" but
Never
forget it.
I guarantee you, the people that were there in that gymnasium for Terry Funk and for Hawk were still like, I remember when Terry Funk came here and he splattered his blood on the wall and then fell down every damn step.
They tried to wipe it up. You still see it though. You go in there and look hard enough.
It's just fun. And like, that's, being throughout this pandemic and not being able to go to live professional wrestling matches. We had one that we were going to go to at HIGHKUs, a local high school that Zane and Dave, fuck you, Zane and Dave, by the way.
I was going to be there. By the way, the reason we're in $2 Studios is because Aaron recalled the group, and he did not want another heel run in. He said, "We're cutting it. We're going wired connection.
Cut the feed.
We're going wired connection."
You got him like looking out the blind.
Pandemic and all, your boys are getting into the $2 Studios.
Yeah, we are reopening the studios. Reopen America. I'm sure neighbors are walking by at this point and looking into my house, and they're like, "Well, we thought that was a nice young man, but now he's yelling all this reopen stuff,
and he's growing weed at night."
Well, I said that pink glow coming from his windows. So, I'm sorry. Go back to your segment.
Where were we? I guess we're. That's it.
Were we at the haiku?
We're at the haiku, boys. All right. Funk takes Hawk to school. Funk tumbles down the bleachers.
Oh.
Terry failed gym class.
I think that's a phenomenal haiku to end this week's episode. Boys, it has felt so good to be back in $2 Studios together as a family. We are
no outside distractions, no dogs, no babies, no wife ruining the streaming quality because she's trying to watch Southern Charm for the 7th time.
Jesus,
he's shooting. I'm sensing some tension in the Tolbert household.
I remember early on in the quarantine, every week he would make a mention about how much he loved his wife. And now it's becoming Southern Charm.
Made it a year.
It was the quarantine. That's the quarantine's music. Well, boys, next week
She's not gonna listen this far.
no, she listens to the beginning. The first, any woman that has listened, like any of y'all's significant others, just listen to the first 10 minutes. But I will say, I got a text message from Big Mike's wife last week, and she sent me a text message saying, "So you're telling me that Tolbert is going to be wearing a pair of pants with my face on it?" And she was kind of mad about it, right?
She was like, what the fuck?
So then she, equality, she wants to get a pair of pants with Katie's face on it for Mike. So we might have we might have to get this done soon. Folks, thank you for listening to $2 Steak. Next week, I have got the rundown for next week written. I'm type A personality now. I'm a changed man. This
College student starting tomorrow.
Holy shit, I'm a college student starting tomorrow. I got to scrounge up all my money to pay for this fucking tuition. If you guys want to Venmo $2,
It's a GoFundMe.
it's Aaron Varnum. You can fund my college tuition. We are doing a very special theme week next week. We have talked about this man for the last couple weeks. We are doing a Psycho Sid Vicious, Sid Justice episode of $2 Steak because, it's not episode 22, which I wish that it was.
22? Why me?
So, Mike, you, I threw out a bunch of links. There was Sid versus Brett. There was Sid versus Sean. There was these
So many
actual
Sid matches.
decent matches that Sid Vicious put on. Sid looked good in these matches. And I give him this list. And Mike picked Sid versus Goldberg. So next week, Sid.
For our first Goldberg match.
It is a first Goldberg match.
Man, wow.
Our second Sid Vicious
You got a big
match.
responsibility, man.
I know, that's why I wanted it. I needed to steal it, and hopefully it's terrible, and I'll shit on it.
I hope so.
All right, so Mike has got Sid versus Goldberg, and I think the funniest part was I said, choose wisely, folks. Mike immediately picked that match, and then I sent the gif of
You chose poorly.
of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and said you chose poorly, and Mike just wrote, "I know what I did. I know what I did."
I'm aware.
All right, so Mike's got Sid versus Goldberg. Cookie, you've got a great match between Sid and HBK.
Yeah. Can't
From
wait for that.
Survivor Series with that classic gif of Sid walking out giving fist bumps to everybody in the crowd. And then Tolbert's got a very rare match. Sid in
like this.
ECW.
Ooh.
Sid against the Dudley Boys. So we have got a very...
Is it 2-on-1?
You'll see.
Spoiler, Spike Dudley, it was originally Spike Dudley against the Dudley Boys. They said, "Oh, I've got a partner," and then out comes Sid. And
Gotcha.
so it's
That
basically...
totally just kills the whole thing now.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that, Mike. Thanks for fucking it up.
That's the second thing you spoiled for him today. What was the first? What the fuck were you?
Yeah, what
talking
was
about?
the first spoiler?
The catcher.
Oh,
Foxcatcher.
Oh, yeah. Spoiler alert. Folks, thank you for listening to $2 Steak, a pro wrestling podcast. Next week, big matchups with Sid Vicious, and thank you for listening once again. I'm terrible at the ending.
It sucks. Why don't we follow us on social media at @2$steak_.
There we go.